You know what 2022 was full of? No, not that. Games. 2022 has been a very interesting year for gaming. We got some great games, and though it initially looked promising for Nintendo, there were some disappointments, but also some bangers. So let's look back at the top 10 rated Nintendo Switch exclusives of 2022. Hello world and all who inhabit it, is I, the Great Sega Rain, and this list is comprised of games that are Nintendo Switch console exclusives. That includes games that aren't necessarily developed by Nintendo first party studio, and games that may be on other platforms like PC and mobile, but only on consoles via the Nintendo Switch. These are all being evaluated at the time of recording, and I really didn't want to investigate to see if these games are going to any other platform, so excuse my laziness. We'll start with the lowest ranked game first and then make our way up to the highest. I'm pulling all of this from Metacritic, so I'll link all these games in the description box right below the like button. Let's get started. First up is Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. There's actually a 3-hour demo of this game on the eShop, so if you want to try before you buy, I recommend it. This game was kinda out of left field. I really enjoyed Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, mostly for its in-depth prequel storytelling. Warriors 3 Hopes has very similar combat as Age of Calamity, which I like, but I'm not the biggest fan of Fire Emblem, so I don't know if the story would be more compelling if I was a fan. This game was rated an 80 on Metacritic, and I'm not mad at that. This is a game I wait on the sale for, and as of recording, it's $27.99 on Amazon, so I do recommend it at that price. Next is Live Alive, another game with a demo, and it's available by chapter, not by time, so it depends on how much you want to explore the levels. I think Live Alive's HD 2D art style is absolutely gorgeous. It's very vibrant and detailed, especially on the OLED. I thought I had outgrown turn-based games for the most part, but I actually like the combat in this one. It doesn't feel as slow as normal turn-based games, and the story is actually pretty good. It's a respectable 26 hours to fully complete, so it's at that sweet spot for me as far as length. It's rated an 81 on Metacritic, and I kinda wish it was rated higher. I had a great time with Live Alive, and for a AA game, it really stuck with me this year. It launched at $50, and you can sometimes find it for cheaper. I recommend it any price, but understand if pixel art HD 2D games aren't really your thing, as they can be kind of divisive in the community. Triangle Strategy is a game that I really tried to get into. I didn't hate the demo section I played, but I just wasn't wholly convinced I needed this game. I don't know. I want to be a strategy game guy so bad, but this game was 34 hours long, which is pushing it for me. The story is kind of meh. There's a war, you're a royalty, you need to strategically stop the fighting or else you're gonna let your people down, whatever. I just didn't care. The turn-based strategy was fine. There are some difficult spots in this game, and you can crank up the difficulty for even more of a challenge. I really wish I would have tried DioField Chronicles, Square Enix's other strategy game, as that one seemed to be more real-time, so maybe the game goes by faster. This game is rated favorably at an 83, and strategy RPG fans I follow seem to really like it. I hope Fire Emblem Engage can get me into the genre in January, because I like Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle and Sparks of Hope, which we'll talk about later on this list. You can find Triangle Strategy on sale often, but I feel like this game is niche, and if you already want it, you probably already have it, but I'll still link it down below. What is there to say about Splatoon 3? It's Splatoon 3. A great shooter on Switch that, before being eclipsed by Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, was one of the biggest launch weekends for a Nintendo game this year. Splatoon's third-person shooter mechanics are pretty sweet. They made some improvements from Splatoon 2 that the community really liked. The movement is more fluid, and the weapon variety was vastly expanded, along with other options like character customization and the open lobby system where people draw and say anything, and I mean anything. I'm not the biggest Splatoon fan. I don't think it's bad at all, but if I wanted to play an online multiplayer shooter, I'm likely not playing on the Switch. And even then, there are other games more my style like Apex or Overwatch 2, which I officially dubbed the best shooter on the Nintendo Switch in this video here. It got an 83 on Metacritic, which I thought was a little bit low for all the hype that the community was giving this game, but it may suffer from sequelitis. Sequelitis is where a game is just more of the last game, with no major improvements to bring in more fans and keep players engaged aside from the hardcore fan base. It's one of those games that if you liked it, you'd already have it, but if you're curious and you have $60 to spend, I'd give it a try. I'm extremely biased to Pokemon Legends Arceus, as it was probably one of my top 3 games of 2022. I've been a big Pokemon fan ever since my brother introduced me to Pokemon Yellow, and as the only Pokemon game of 2022 with a review score high enough to be on this list, I have to gush over this game. It's not the prettiest or most performant game ever, but it's fun, and it's different than what Pokemon has been serving us. I put over 80 hours into this game, and it doesn't even feel like it. I spent hours perfecting Pokedex pages for all the Pokemon and getting a rank high enough to be considered the Pokemon Master. The difficulty, the story, the open zone exploration gameplay was honestly everything I wanted from a Pokemon game, and after putting 40 hours into Violet, I'm confident to say that Arceus was better. I can't recommend this game enough, and it's hit several sales, but it's worth it at whatever price. It's rated at an 83, but I really never expect Pokemon games to get high scores, so I'm satisfied with that. The Pokemon community had a lot of fun with the title, and I'm hoping that they're cooking another one up. We keep calling the Legends Arceus sequels Legends Celebi, but I wouldn't be mad at a Legends Deoxys that had a more techie, spacey thing. But yeah, pick up this game, 100%. Kirby and the Forgotten Forgotten Land is another game I'm gushing over. It's one of those games that looks amazing on the OLED with its vibrant and colorful imagery. I've always wanted Kirby to be more mainstream, as the games usually don't sell well, and he deserved to be known for something other than Smash. The cuteness factor and loads of content mushed into this game made it a success. It's not baby easy, but it could be harder. Some streamers imposed self-restricting rules to make it more difficult and enjoyed it that way. I don't think difficulty always makes or breaks the game, but I would have liked something more difficult than WoW mode, which was actually just normal mode. This game is meant to be extremely approachable with a built-in couch co-op mode that I've actually played with my wife and enjoyed. Kirby usually isn't on a 3D plane, so Forgotten Land being the first also made it more appealing. The last few Kirby games on Switch have been lackluster, so it's awesome to see the pink fluff ball get a win. There are some more Kirby games on the way in the forms of remakes and remasters, and Forgotten Land seems to have done its job because I'm sold on those already. With a deserved 85 on Metacritic, I recommend this game at any price, though you can often find it on sale as well. Shovel Knight Dig is one of those games I mentioned that's on other platforms, but only on console via the Nintendo Switch. I actually played this game on my iPhone with Joy-Cons attached because it's free on Apple Arcade, but that still counts, right? Shovel Knight Dig is a roguelike from Yacht Club Games, but instead of going horizontally, you go vertically. It's definitely a delight to play and very difficult at times, breaking the monotony of some of the easier games we've talked about today. This game is gorgeous, and on an OLED screen, whether that's an iPhone or your Switch, it'll blow you away. You need to play this game over and over again to get any good because you will not be able to one-shot a playthrough. Bosses are all unique and difficult, and getting more powerful abilities throughout runs is going to be very helpful for completing this game. I love indie games, and Yacht Club Games has proven themselves to create high-quality indies over and over again. This game launched at $25, but you can often find it on sale for $20, so come on, support indie dev. Shovel Knight Dig deserves its 85 on Metacritic, and I recommend it to everyone. Okay, now we're down to the top 3, which I think are all great games, but I wouldn't necessarily call any one of them my definitive game of the year. I think there's an audience for all of these games, but there's only one I can recommend to any and everybody. Let's start with Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope, the sequel to Kingdom Battle, a game I slept on for years. I thought since Kingdom Battle was so cheap, it was a bad game, but after grabbing this game and all its DLC on a super sale, I was amazed at how beautiful and fun this early Switch title was. Since I had only recently played and finished it before Sparks of Hope was announced, I was still on a high and ready to see what the sequel could bring. There are new mechanics, new playable characters, and planned DLC for this title. It can be challenging since it's basically a strategy RPG just with Mario, but the added comedic nature of the game and art style make it more approachable. This is a game that definitely doesn't suffer from sequelitis like others do. While I think anyone can play this game and have a decent time, I can't recommend it to everyone, especially if you have a specific type of game you enjoy. If you're open-minded enough, then I suggest this game, but if you're still a little weary, then I will wait on the Ubisoft sale just to be safe. I think the 86 that this game reviewed at is acceptable, and I really hope that they continue to make these because they're bangers. Bayonetta 3 had a lot of controversy leading up to launch, but it all actually backfired and ended up giving a lot of publicity and public attention to a franchise that wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. Bayonetta is one of my most beloved franchises and the only franchise I go out of my way to get physically. That is until the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection Collector's Edition is announced, that is. I love Bayonetta 1 and 2, and I've been excited for Bayonetta 3 for years. Bayonetta 3 took forever to come out, but it's definitely worth it. It's pretty crazy with plenty of moments, but it's also got some sentimental moments that really rewards fans of the series. Adding the new character of Viola also gave the game some depth, and custom levels with Jean are super fun and creative. This game I can confidently recommend to any and everyone, even those who haven't played Bayonetta 1 and 2, because while there is a story, it's not as intertwined and you can always go back and play those because they're all on Switch. I wouldn't avoid Bayonetta 3 just because you didn't play 1 and 2, but I do recommend playing the entire series. Bayonetta 3 got an 86 on Metacritic, and it can be hard to say why since the other entries received critical acclaim and both scored 90+, which is really good. It may have been the overall technical issues present, which seems to be a common theme nowadays for Switch titles. In some cases it's the hardware, and in others it's the developer, but in this case it's definitely the hardware. This is one of the first games I played on Switch and thought, man, we need a Switch Pro. Platinum makes games on all other platforms, so we've seen their work and what they can do when given room, but the Switch is dated and we need something else. The technical issues didn't hinder the experience for me. I really love this game. I think Bayonetta should have scored higher, but I do understand why it got an 86. Here's hoping to better Switch hardware in 2023. Okay, this next game I haven't played or demoed or anything. I'm not a fan of the franchise and even tried to brute force my way through some older entries and realized that this just isn't my thing, and that's okay. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Man. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the highest rated Nintendo Switch game this year, and it's even up for Game of the Year. I voted for God of War. I think this game looks beautiful, and the Ouroboros mechanic looks awesome. Monolith Soft really showed what the Switch can do when given time, and I'm really excited for fans, but the base game is 61 hours. Who has that type of time for only one game. You could play 3 or 4 games on this list in the time it takes to get through the story, no side quests, of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Length aside, I think the biggest no for me is the combat. Auto battles? What is this, a mobile game? I know it sounds like it, but I am not hating on this game. It's just hard to recommend to people who aren't diehard JRPG fans. It received an 89, and I'm sure fans would say it should be a 90 plus at least, but I don't know what all to say. Play at your own risk, I don't know. So that's it, the top 10 Nintendo Switch exclusive games of 2022. Did I miss anything? Let me know down below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.